Following our phone-in segment on the withdrawal of police officers from VIP protection, we now turn into a deeper look at how Nigeria can manage its security manpower more effectively. This morning, we're joined by Wilson Inalagwu, a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police for Zone 9 and a seasoned security expert. AIG Inalagwu brings decades of experience in policing, counterinsurgency, and operational management, and he will help us analyze the recent presidential directive to retrieve over 100,000 officers from VIP duties and redeploy them to front-line policing. We'll discuss the challenges of balancing protection for high-profile individuals with the urgent need to strengthen security in communities, explore how this move could impact crime prevention and counter-terrorism efforts, and examine the strategies needed to optimize the redeployment of limited police personnel across the country. Stay with us as we unpack the implications of this new order and explore what it means for both public safety and VIP security with expert insights from retired AIG Wilson Inalagwu. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Good. Now, let's look at the big picture. Now, when we look at this new order to withdraw police officers from the VIP, what problem do you think the government is actually trying to solve?
The Nigeria Police Force has a severe understaffing problem. Usually everybody says, oh, police is about 370,000. But I don't think that number, the actual number of the police personnel is up to that 370,000. But even if it is up to 370,000, it still falls far below the UN recommended standard. Okay. That means you are having for 223 million that the UN estimate Nigerian population to be. That means you are going to have about 1 police to 650. Whereas South Africa, their police is 1 to 430. US is 1 to 450. And then in Nigeria, you are having 1 to 650. That means, and this is a police that lacks basic equipment to work. And this is a police force. And this is a country that is experiencing very serious security challenges. And I think the president looked at the duty of government is the welfare and security of the people. So I think what they're trying to do, even if is to get officers, police personnel, from the different assignments they have, especially they call VIP protection. And I think it's a kind of trying to regularize it. No doubt it's a popular decision, but it can never suffice for recruitment. Unless you recruit, even if you withdraw, even from all the offices, you are never going to meet. Because the rural areas have police stations, police posts, and our stations. They're grossly understaffed, that they can't even protect their own division or station. So it is a popular decision. But there has to be a kind of balance, because it's popular because it is kind of between the elites and the masses. And so everybody said, look, all the police are in Asokoro, they're in Ikoyi and all that. And so the government reacted appropriately to draw personnel so that on the streets, you are going to have patrols, you're going to have proper investigation. The IPOs will not be loaded with so many cases. You are going to have better prosecution, and all those will happen. But the duty of the police has not actually changed. The duty of crime prevention, the duty of protection of life and property, the duty of apprehension of offenders, the duty of public order, and all that will not go down. But I think it's a radical step to try to take control of the allocation and utilization of police personnel.
All right. Now, at this point, with this directive, based on your experience, what is the biggest challenge the police will face, in implementing this order when it comes to logistics, when it comes to resistance within the system or political interference? Or what is the biggest lacuna, you think, the challenge that would be faced?
Yeah, the challenge is going to render some people vulnerable. Actually, there are some people that are not entitled to police, individual police protection that enjoy it. But clearly, there are people that service, if you withdraw, you expose them. Even victims of crime. For example, you find a young lady that was violated and is trying to, has brought the matter. You are not going to leave such a young person. You are going to have specific police protection so that the person is not harmed or hurt. So the idea is, it is not a bad policy, but there has to be the management, the implementation must not be such that it shouldn't be like the fuel subsidy. You withdraw fuel subsidy and it just goes. Of course, the state is subsidizing private security for private individuals. And this is good because it's going to enhance the private security companies, private gas. So it's going to lead to employment. But the idea is there are people that must enjoy.
Now, I understand there are people that actually do need that police protection, and there are those that are just utilizing it because they can. So how can they be able to differentiate that and make sure that those police officers are withdrawn from those that don't necessarily need it? And when they are redeployed, how can they make sure that those police officers are utilized where necessary?
Yeah. First of all, when a directive like this comes, I expect the police management team to sit down, look at the directive, and then look at the implementation, come up with a strategy for implementation. And this will guide them. This is what is going to guide the officers. The directive that is issued by the president will be complied with, but you are going to look at it, how do you implement it, in a way that it will not look as if you are trying to sabotage. Whereas attacks on VIPs spikes, there will be, outcry. So what I expect, I think the police, the IG and his management team will do is look at the police directive, look at the current security situation, look at what you can do that you will not jeopardize the security of anyone. And then you also sit with the civil defense, look at our capability. Do they have the right training to carry on that responsibility? And then you do that, and to put into proper use the officers that have been withdrawn, that maybe there has to be some induction, particularly those that have stayed so long with VVIP. You are bringing them back to the force. Actually, I recall there is a standing police directive that you will not serve more than 18 months with a VIP. But with the human interaction, when people get used to these officers, they stay and stay.
Now, what are the dangers of those officers being or getting used to a particular person that they do protect?
It is their own understanding of the police work, which does not, because a police officer is a professional. A police officer, once he is well trained, is competent. He does not have tribe. He does not have religion. He does not have color. He does not have anything. He doesn't have brother. He doesn't have father. What he looks at is the regulation, the job. What does the law say about this crime? The law did not make exception that if somebody commits theft because he's your friend. So if the public get to understand that the police officer is a professional, that wherever you are, and that is the problem that the public tend to have, even the political masters. That is why you find in the state, commissioners of police have been posted. Because if there is a professional that he has spent up to 4 to 5 years, because the process of formation will take 4 to 5 years, when you can really say this guy is a police, police officer. So it does happen. So if they will see, but if this deployment is properly done, and the 30,000, the president gave directive to be employed, nobody really wants to carry baggage. That means if you are within your house and there is a critical incident and you make a report, the police respond promptly. And then if the patrols are properly focused, the police is visible, and they understand what they are doing, and you are safe in your neighborhood, you are not going to begin to carry people and spend extra money. So those that will be withdrawn, I believe they will be given some kind of orientation so that wash off whatever lethargic...
AIG, we have seen this directive in the past. I mean, I remember in 2003 during Tafawa Longo's time, he brought up this particular policy that police officers should be withdrawn, escorts should be withdrawn from VIPs. You know, he faced a lot of backlash due to that. The list can go on and on and on. A lot of IGP actually came up with that directive. Now, what makes this particular one different? Is it that the fact that the president himself is the one, you know, with making this implementation that police officers should be withdrawn? Do you think because it's the president this time around it's going to be implemented to the fullest?
First of all, the police is an institution that respects, that obeys. So when the president gives directive, the police cannot disobey. That is number one. But you cannot discountenance the fact that there will be pushback. And this is not going to come from the police. It's going to come from the political class. It's going to come from the business class. Because they're going to, it's going to come even from the judiciary. I don't know if the judges, Supreme Court justices and all that, that handle delicate cases. So there will be pushback. And that is why I'm saying that I think the police management team will sit down, look at the directive, and do a memo to the president explaining the pros and cons, the area that they think the president may look at, and the other area, so that not to water down the directive, but like a governor, because the VIP is not really defined. So, but these are details that I think the Inspector General of Police will look at critically. That is why I say he's going to hold a meeting with the CG Civil Defense and look at their capability and look at, okay, look, this is the way we are going. Like, that's why I said that it's not good, like now, it's like government is subsidizing security.
I was about to ask, how do you think that would work with the NSCDC being put forth and asked to be the substitution for the police force? Do you think that there would be some kind of synergy and it would actually work for the VIPs that they're protecting?
Well,
and the state as well, because those are state resources as well.
No, that's why I say that, look, it depends on the capability, on the competence. And that is why nobody is going to expose himself. You know, when the civil defense came, they were not carrying weapons and critical infrastructure and the rest of it. But I think, I imagine they should mark a gradual disengagement of the government from providing security for individuals instead of providing for all. So even if you shift it to the civil defense, there is still a gap. But I think what we need to push to create jobs is to begin to look at, are there credible security, private security agencies? South Africa adopts that very well. And then, and many other countries, is it possible to begin to do, even with side weapon, not assault rifle, so that those who really need, they pay? Because it's like government, it's just, government is subsidizing. That you have a very big company, you are making billions every year, and government is providing you security, and you pay peanut. So government can say, look, just like government withdrew from fuel subsidy, government can say, look, yes, we are going to provide you, but we should a kind of graduate winning we can win from this and allow you to pay. So apart from that, so you free up. Because even if you take it from the police and you give it to the civil defense, government is still subsidizing security for individuals.
Right.
I do understand. So I think we should begin to think, to look at companies as an alternative. As an alternative, that we are now going to have a lot of young people, and that is why you find civilian JTF, you find all this. That means there are youthful population that want to belong to either the security services and all that. But now you have opened the space by identify, by way of demonstration, one or two security that have the competence, that have the pedigree to provide such service and properly vetted. And then those people now can say, look, we need private security. Then you pay. That means government is not giving you subsidy. But right now, maybe you have one officer, you are paying maybe 20,000, you are paying 30,000. And ideally, you could be paying more than 500,000. So it's all about, I just want to think, because if you shift it to civil defense, as far as I'm concerned,
another government resource.
It is another government resource.
Going into it.
Because then the police, because the issue of police deployment and allocation of resources, it is not what you can solve in one. But the government will come, have an implementation committee, and see that it is actually implemented. But it is not a fiat. I mean, you cannot go. Somebody want to go to the airport, or he wants to go to Kaduna. He's very scared. Even his health, his psychological, his mental health. That look, they have withdrawn my police. They will attack me on the way. Security is a little bit psychological. When that officer sees in your car, he gives you that. It may not really
safety.
Yeah, he gives that safety. So I think government, I expect, it will not be kind of radical, but for some category, it has to be radical. Total withdrawal.
All right, let us look at this aspect, understanding that these police officers, 100,000 of them are going to be withdrawn from these VIPs and back and redeployed into the police force. Now, looking at the recruitment, about 30,000 are meant to be recruited. Do you think that would suffice even to the closest in making sure that the Nigerian police force is beefed up to the capacity that it needs to get to?
I think the number of next year, after 30,000, at least for 3 to 4 years, maybe 30,000 yearly. Give them training. And the beautiful thing about this is that when you make it, this 30,000 and the 100,000 cannot go anywhere. Because, this technology is force multiplier. That backing, because why are we still having checkpoints with obstacles on the way in a supposed sophisticated metropolitan area like the FCT? At least those areas that are considered critical could have concentration of CCTV, and you have patrols. In which case, you limit the number you deploy for static police duties, because the idea is that unpredictability. So I think that it is government will now think of, look, let's also think about increasing the CCTV coverage, even along the highways. That is one. Government can think of that, so that from the monitoring room, from the control room, you can now radio. You see some suspicious vehicle, and the police vehicle will just swoop on them. And then that will help to improve the relationship between the public and the police. That means you're not just stopping a woman carrying her children to school and just stop. But now, from the control room, you are able to look at the entire city, and you see some aspect of the highway. That is going to help. Then the second thing is, that 30,000 plus 100,000 is not a magic wand. Yes, you are going to have the officers on the street, but building the capacity of officers and stakeholders on the relevant aspects of community policing, collaboration, partnership, confidence building, trust building, so that the police multiplies her number by the collaboration they have with the public. This is going to grant meaning, but the step is good. It's a long way, because if in a police station in your community you're having only 4 officers, you now suddenly have 12. It gives you confidence, but that is not a substitute for creating that the sense of security that everybody should have. And it will also help. One thing I like about this is it's going to, with officers, that means others can go to training, not people working 24 hours, 12 hours. When I was a young officer, 1-star, 2-star, you work 8 hours. Now officers are working 12 hours, 24 hours. And I doubt if human being can concentrate for 24 hours. Or for, even the police dog we use, after 2 hours we withdraw them and bring another one. So it is good. But what I'm trying to say is that the police management team must sit down, look at it critically, and then do a memo, a letter to the president, spelling out the mode of implementation.
Okay, now in terms of putting this issue on the table by the Nigerian police, writing a memo to the president stating exemptions, of course, because we know that there are still some VIPs in Nigeria that honestly need police protection, and then we also have those that are misusing it. Now, based on your expertise, how many police officers, let's say, for example, after the memo is being written, if there's going to be anyone, and then the police get to state, exceptions of these very important people that should have access to police protection, what is the standard number for each VIP to a police officer?
I think it depends on the threat
the
VIP, faces. Like a governor, for example, or a minister. And even it's not even at the same level of threat. I imagine that the minister for defense, for example, or the minister for example, the EFCC chairman could be investigating some high-profile cases, or the chief judge, or chief judge of a state, or the justice of the Supreme Court. So I think it depends on security assessment, risk and threat assessment. That will determine the number. It is not something you can just say, you 2, you 4. It's just like deploying to polling stations. When you are deploying police number to polling units in Mpape, it is not the same number you deploy to polling units in Maitama, because you expect that those in Maitama should be gentlemen. They aren't going to snatch ballot boxes. But if you go to Mpape, for example, a polling unit that ordinarily should have to, you deploy 6. Because that number. So in deploying individuals, it depends on the risk and threat assessment. What is the risk that individual is exposed to? That's what will determine. So it's not a wholesome number that one size fits all. No, it depends on individual cases. Because ideally, you really deploy based on the threat assessment.
Okay, just to follow up before I allow my colleague, I know, in the past when these directives were given, the backlash that most of these IGP faced were coming from these police officers that were being assigned to the VIPs. I mean, of course, when you're being assigned to a VIP, everybody would have that, sense of understanding that there's somewhat a bit of comfort for you as a police officer from the ones that are being, either on the street and yes. So why do you think that when it comes to implementing this, it's going to be a bit difficult, because these police officers must definitely push back? So why do you think that these police officers are very, very, very comfortable with serving VIPs rather than being taken to their designated service point?
Every human being wants comfort. And especially this our skin. We don't want to suffer. So it's normal. It's normal. But I think I retired from the force about 6 years. So I imagine that the personnel of the police should be, the personnel record should be digitalized. That means the punch of the button, I know where each officer is. Yeah. So I think if you try to digitalize the record, personnel record of the police, you are able to know who is somewhere, who is there. That, you know, that is going to help you. I imagine that they should be graduating towards that. You know, that will help. And then the individual commanders rendering their staff strength on a monthly basis, which it happens now, but paying particular attention to it so that you can account for every officer.
All right, thank you very much.
Welcome.
AIG Wilson Inalagwu for being here and shedding so much light on this particular directive for the president, as well as a redeployment of police officers back to their duty post. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. Thank you.